Good evening. This is the November 2nd, 2023 Smyrna Municipal Planning Commission meeting. I will now call the meeting to order. Mark Atkins is going to lead us in prayer, and Tim Slate in the pledge. If you'd stand with us, please.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you today, Lord, with grateful hearts, Lord. We thank you for this town that we get to call our home. And we're grateful, too, for the people that work to keep us safe, to keep the streets and all the services that the town provides functioning and safe for our citizens. Lord, we're also grateful for our citizens, Father. Lord, we ask that you just put a hedge of protection around those that protect and serve. Father, just keep them safe as they go out and do their job each and every day. Lord, as we begin to do the business of the town, we ask for discernment. We ask for your wisdom. Go with us now as we deliberate. Thankful for everything that you give us. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Face the flag. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mark and Tim. Citizens' comments.
None tonight.
Okay, our next item is approval of the minutes of the October 5th, 2023 meeting. Counselor, are the minutes in order?
They're in order, Mr. Foreman.
Any comments or concerns from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion. I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. We are now on to old business. Our first item is annexation and zoning and plan of service request, Collins Grove, 8673 Briley Road, annexation and PRD zoning request.
Yes, this is a request for annexation of a parcel of land totaling about 3.59 acres. The request originally came in for all PRD, and it is what has been was in your packet. Yesterday, we received a revised drawing and request, and there's a small area, the kind of the southeasternmost portion of this has now been requested to be zoned R3 instead of PRD, and would not be included in the PRD. So the map that is on the screen does reflect that, as well as the drawings that are in front of you. Surrounding zoning is a mix of PRD, which is Briley Downs, and Imperial Alfaro PRDs, and then RM in Rutherford County. Land use plan would support medium density, single family residential in this area, and no streets are affected, no streets shown on the thoroughfare plan are affected by this request. This PRD is for 6 single family lots, would be known as Collins Grove. And we mentioned or referenced a portion of the property which would eventually would be incorporated into the Briley Downs PRD. I think that is still their intent, but at this time, rather than, they can't really do that, they don't control that property, so that's why they had changed that area to an R3 request. And eventually there would be most likely be an amendment to the Briley Downs PRD to incorporate that area and potentially have additional lots within that development. It would be coming back to you all into council at that time. The required minimum fire flow is would be 1,000 gallons per minute, 20 psi, and that would be served by CUD. Sewer is not available until some off-site upgrades are completed with other neighboring developments. We had a few comments left that are kind of beyond the standard comments. Number 8, we asked them to show that some building elevations to be shown to be finished with a mix of brick, stone, and or concrete siding on all sides. There's some sheets with the resubmittal, some sheets got renumbered. It's actually sheet C 3.0, not 7.2. It's still the same information, so that still needs to be corrected. We'd ask them to add a note on the plan showing HOA ownership for the common open space administered by a third party. They have submitted some preliminary documentation creating that HOA and everything, but we just asked them to show that on the plans. Number 10 was to extend the sewer main to the end of the cul-de-sac. We asked them to, they show on the lot layouts, typical lot layouts, they show public utility and drainage easements on all the setbacks. We asked them to remove those. Corner lots are required to have 2 front setbacks. We asked them to show both front setbacks at a minimum of 20 feet with a minimum of 35 feet to the garage. And to add a note to the plans regarding the HVAC units being located to the rear of the houses. Those comments still do need to be addressed. The rest of the comments are from Consolidated Utility District. They have indicated there is adequate pressure here for fire flow here, so that would not be an issue on this. As far as the overall layout and development, everything is consistent with the surrounding developments with regards to lot size and density and housing type and that sort of thing. So I believe that's all I got. You all did hear this last month, that they did request deferral, and you all did defer it last month. So
Okay. Do we have any questions for Kevin concerning this?
Just for clarification on scope, we're voting on the PRD zoning and the R3.
That's
We're voting-
correct.
This covers both, correct?
that is correct, yes. Again, it's only, it's just like 3,200ths of an acre. It's a small area in the south. That area, it's on the map there, is highlighted in blue.
Okay, thank you.
Charles, did you have a question?
What's planned for the R3?
The plan is that it is anticipated that it would be sold to the adjoining development and incorporated within that development. That would be a PRD amendment that they would have to come through at some point. That project has already been annexed zoned, it already has the preliminary plat approved. They wanted to move forward with that, go ahead and get started on that and then come back later and potentially add this area, and maybe add 2 or 3 lots to it at that time. But that would come back later as a PRD amendment. And we'll come back to this body and then to eventually council, so.
And can I assume that staff is good with that?
Yes, we're okay with that.
Okay. All right, other questions? I'll entertain a motion then.
Make a motion to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? All in favor of this annexation and PRD zoning request, please signify by saying aye.
Chairman, I'm going to abstain from this even though I'm not involved in it because the future PRD I was involved in.
Okay.
So I'm just going to abstain for that reason.
Catherine? Good?
Yes.
All right. So, did we actually get, I want to make sure we
Probably
did
just
here.
need to get a vote formally.
Yeah,
but I
let's
think
make sure we're clear on the vote. So let's call that again. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we are approved, let's see, what's my math? 5,
5 to
4,
0 to
1 abstention.
Right.
Okay, good. All right, our next item is from Joe Haddix, Bill France Road, Interstate 840, annexation and I-2, C2, and R3 zoning request. And with this, my notes indicate they are requesting a 2-month deferral.
That is correct.
Okay? And I think that we've seen this before as far as a deferral, and as the, I'm not sure if it's the owner, developer, as they're asking for it, we can entertain another deferral without taking action. Is that correct? Okay, does anybody have questions? I'll then entertain a motion.
Move for deferral approval.
I have a motion to defer. Do I have a
Second.
Motion and second to defer. Further discussion. All those in favor of this deferral signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This deferral is approved. We are now on to rezoning requests. The first one is from Andrea Patty, 63 North Lowry Street, rezoning C2 to PCD.
Yeah, this is a request for rezoning for roughly 1 acre of property. It's a portion of a parcel. The address is 63 North Lowry Street. There's an adjoining tract of land where the existing business is located that is wanting to expand and utilize this tract of land. This tract actually is somewhat, this portion of the tract anyway doesn't have any frontage on a public street other than Adams Street, which was never built. But it does have access through this tract to Second Street and as well as Lowry Street. The surrounding zoning here is zones all C2. This is the Depot District character area, would support new development and redevelopment, which is a mix of uses and services that are more urban and lot sizes and setbacks. Retail, restaurant, office, and attached residential uses are particularly appropriate for this area. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Lowry Street as a principal arterial. An adequate right-of-way does exist for this street, and as I said earlier, this tract is a portion of parcel 28, which does have no public road frontage, other than that Adams Street right-of-way, which was never improved. The public right-of-way of Second Street does end at the point of the Adams Street right-of-way, so there is that private drive, which would be the access to this tract of land. This requested PCD is to expand the existing automobile rental business located at 63 North Lowry onto the adjoining parcel. The development on this parcel would add parking and a detached car wash for use by the business only and not open to the general public. Required minimum fire flow is 1,500 gallons per minute at 20 PSI. This cannot currently be met at this site, so we gave them a couple of options. They are showing a water main extension to tie into the existing 12-inch at North Lowry and Jackson Street. Number 6, we'd ask them to show the floodway boundary in addition to the floodplain boundary, and they have done so. And so we remove that comment. This, as I said earlier, this is as part of our depot district on our land use plan. It is also a part of the central depot district of the Lowry Street overlay, the zoning overlay. All applicable requirements of the overlay are required to be met. And I noted where they were located for their use. We would look at that, if this rezoning would be approved, we would look at that in detail when the site plan is submitted. Number 8, again, that's kind of somewhat of a duplicate of the previous comment regarding the water line. They did show the size of that existing line and showed that where they're going to tap into that line on Lowry Street, so we can remove comment number 8. Comment number 9 regarding the sewer service size, we can remove, has been addressed, as well as number 10 regarding the 2 separate sewer services. We did ask for a fire flow calculation for the fire hydrant, and I don't think we have received that piece yet, so we would need to keep number 11. I didn't notice that on the drawings. So this is one, the particular use was looking at a different location here in town. They were not able to complete that and make that happen, so they have come back here to where they're already located and have asked to expand here. So that's why this is, some of you were on the planning commission and council when that was looked at fairly recently within the past, I don't know, 8 months, 6, 8 months, however long ago it was. So it's basically the same use, just in a different location, so. I think that's all I've got.
Kevin, you mentioned the Depot District. And I recall looking at a concept plan as far as how this could be potentially built out over the years as part of the Depot District overlay. How do you see this fitting?
This is really more of doesn't really fit what our vision was for when we looked at our downtown master plan and what we looked at for the Depot District. Again, we were wanting to see something a little more like what we have on Front Street or what we have along Lowry Street, where Alta Depot and the restaurants and those kind of things through that area. More of that style of development than than this. And this is more what you would see most, rest of the part of town, really. And so, so in that regard, it really doesn't fit, the use doesn't fit what we would, our vision had been for the downtown area.
Okay.
Do I take that as a staff recommendation or just a concept idea?
Well, that was, I mean, that would be our recommendation, is not consistent with the master, downtown master plan and the comprehensive plan in that area.
Other questions from the commission?
I know they're titled space over there, they have been for a long time, and I recall when they came in for the Rock Springs site, and I thought we had all that worked out, probably would have been a good site, but the character of the location of this is specific, just because of where it's at in the downtown district right there. I gotta just my ignorance, this is obviously it's a request for a PCD, not an R5, or not a C5.
Correct.
And so going forward, hypothetically, if this were to go through, it limits that use to that purpose.
It would be just this
Somebody
purpose.
couldn't come back and put an auto sales lot or something on there, right? Yeah,
Correct.
okay. So-
Other comments or questions?
Comment?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm relatively new to town, but it seems to me that we're approaching critical mass with the Depot District. We have a brand-new restaurant there, and having seen this in other communities, if we start approving inconsistent uses, you're potentially just knocking the legs out of what you're trying to do with the Depot District overlay. So I would think that this would be very inconsistent with that.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny from Charles. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Miranda. Further discussion?
Can the public speak on this at all?
You know, we're at a point where we're going to take a vote, and, I mean, I tell you what I will allow prior to the vote. I will allow you, I'll suspend the rules, and I'll allow you to speak.
Sure. My name's Matt Mraz. I'm the group property manager. This is actually Andrea Patty. We work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So Andrea, being the Middle Tennessee regional property manager, brought the application in. And Mr. Atkins, you nailed it on the head. We have outgrown our current space. We did meet with you and talk with you about the potential for Rock Springs to develop it, and that did go favorably. Unfortunately, some restrictive uses from the Home Depot didn't allow us to develop the site, so we had to walk away. It wasn't a price or a location, it was just restrictions.
They
on-
have governance over that entire
Correct.
parcel.
And there were certain restrictions on what we could do with the property from what the Home Depot had. That's beside the point. This one truly is just to allow us to continue to serve the constituents of the town of Smyrna. We have grown, and it's an exciting time for us to be here to tell you that. And we want to have an enterprise presence, but we want to do it safely, efficiently, and really produce a product for you and all of your constituents here. In order to do that, we need space, and we need space to do it potentially without having to uproot the 20 years we've spent in this property and relocate somewhere where we have the land. What we're asking for really is truly to develop a piece of dirt that is next to a body shop that's behind a current Enterprise Rent-A-Car to allow for more parking. The wash facility itself will be just self-contained, just to detail the Enterprise Rent-A-Cars. As they come back off from rent, we turn them around, vacuum them out, wash the outside, and get them ready for rent again. It's not an automatic wash, it's not a drive-through car wash, it is truly a hose and a
I'm sure it's
bucket.
very familiar to, or similar to what we saw at the other property.
Exactly,
okay?
the same structure, landscaped, block building.
And I
all
think
that.
we're good with the concept as far as how it's gonna look and whatnot, just kind of based upon the other. It's just
Sure.
like, to me, it's like we've taken this and we've moved it to this location, so.
Yeah.
I think we understand that.
Okay. Thank you. I'm here for questions. Andrea
Yep.
is here as well. So thank
Okay,
you for your
thank
time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second.
Yeah, and just for clarification, just so everybody's clear, this is a recommendation to council to deny. It's not an
That
actual
is,
denial.
that is correct. It's a recommendation of council to deny. Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Tim, I'll just say this. I understand their need. I get it. I understand why they need it. I get that too. For me, it's just the wrong spot. It's like where it is sensitive to the town. And so as much as I'd like to be able to be favorable for it, to help you with your expansion, to Charles's point, if we can't knock our legs out from under us for something when there may be something better we'd rather have, so to speak, in that depot district, historical area. So that's kind of where I'm going to fall on it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We've had a motion and a second. We've had further discussion. So all those in favor of denying this rezoning request, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This rezoning request is denied. Okay, we are now on to our next item, which is Carl Garrett, 105 Richardson Street, rezoning C1 to R4.
Yes, this is a rezoning request for a tract of land about 2,400ths of an acre. Currently zoned C1, it's been requested to be rezoned to R4. It is at 105 Richardson Street. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R4, R6, and C1. The land use plan for this area, very similar to what we saw across the street, is the Depot District character area. So it'd be from a land use plan, it's a very similar type of idea as what we saw on this previous request regarding the type of uses and the type of vision there. No streets shown on the major thoroughfare plan are affected by this request. I do need to amend comment number 4 a little bit. I did talk with her via email, did hear from the applicant just to kind of clarify a little bit. There are 2 existing houses on this parcel currently. They are, as their property is on C1, they're legally non-conforming. Both are in disrepair. The applicant did clarify, there's the house, there's kind of a house in front and there's another house behind it. The house in front, he is going to tear that down completely, and just remove it completely. He does, and his intention is to upgrade the house in the rear and bring it up to code. So, and basically he wants to have it legally in conformance there. I think long-term, he may want to, things change. He may come back and go back to some sort of commercial zoning here. But at this time, he just wants to have that, go to the R4 zoning. That's why he has made this request. I think either zoning district would be consistent with our land use plan here, so I think it would be, and as well as the surrounding zoning, so. I think that's all I've got.
You know, Kevin, I'm not sure that we've had a C1 zone here for a while. We've got some new folks here, so let's talk about C1 as opposed to what, C2 and,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, C1 is the downtown commercial zoning, basically. It has very limited building setbacks, so buildings to be built next to one another, limited front and even rear setbacks. Uses are what we have in the downtown area for the most part, the restaurants and some retail and those kind of things, service type uses. So it's somewhat similar in uses to what you might see in a kind of a mix of a C2 and a C4 from a use standpoint. But then it's, again, primarily it's the setbacks. The building setbacks are different, more allowance for that, less setbacks, or less lot size minimums and those kind of things. So that's really, you only see it in this part of town.
has staff identified any negative factors or reasons that that you would object to an R4?
No. I
Okay.
think it's, would be good to get some investment on the property from the standpoint of the housing that's there, either removing it or refurbishing it.
Okay. All right. That's my questions. Anybody else have questions? Good. Okay, hearing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Miranda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of this rezoning request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This rezoning request is approved. We are now on to our next item, Ellen Mays, 13016 Old Nashville Highway, rezoning R2 to R6.
Yeah, this is a tract of land, it's about 4.8 acres, about 13016 Old Nashville Highway. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R2, R6, and C4. The land use plan would be for this area is the Old Nashville corridor character area. Kind of support a mix of neighborhood scale retail uses and personal services that provide markets for more kind of locally oriented type retail and uses, services. Townhomes, attached residential development, and other multifamily uses are also appropriate. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Old Nashville Highway as a principal arterial, and adequate right-of-way does exist for this street. And our utilities department did make a note that the water would need to come from the west side of Old Nashville Highway or the north side of Ian Springs West to meet fire flow. So that was just kind of an informational comment for them. That's nothing that really affects the zoning one way or the other, just if for future development purposes of any type. So, that is what I have.
When looking at this lot appears somewhat landlocked here.
It is.
Is that an easement onto Old Nashville Highway?
I believe so, based on, I haven't seen any deeds or anything like that, but that is my understanding. I know that is
Looks
where
like
the
it is.
access to the house, the house that's currently on the property is through that, and so I would assume there's some sort of an easement of some kind.
And R6 would allow for multifamily.
Any type of multifamily.
Are we convinced that the easement that's shown here, do we know anything about that being able to support multifamily?
It would have to be upgraded, for sure. I mean, it's just a driveway at this point, so you would have to provide access to multiple units, whether they're townhomes or apartments or whatever they are. You would have to upgrade the access, for sure.
But at this
And
point,
that could be done as a part of the development of the property.
and at this
yeah.
point in time, do we know if this could accommodate this easement that we're looking at?
I don't know the exact width of it, so that's the main thing you would have to be worried about would be the width. I don't have a scale to know exactly how wide it is,
Okay.
but
Is this a driveway for two homes?
it does, I believe it does provide access to 2 different homes, yeah,
Currently, right?
currently,
Okay.
potentially 3, I guess, I don't know, I think it's just 2 though.
Well, I don't know if there's 2 or 3, but there's at least 2.
Sir,
Uh,
we also have access to know people's land.
Excuse me. I tell you what, let's have some discussion, and then I'm going to allow you to come up and, okay? Yes.
I'm a little confused. Do we know what is proposed for this site?
Well, I believe it was wanting to build multifamily development of some sort of, my understanding was apartments.
But we haven't been provided with a preliminary site plan or anything like
This is
that?
just a zoning.
Yeah,
This is just a
we have not received any kind of concept plan or anything that's not required for this at R6.
With R6, it can be apartments.
It certainly could be, it could be townhomes, it could be any type of multifamily, 3 units or more in a building.
14 and a half units per acre,
Yes, that would be the max density, yes.
right? So, and the access, the driveway, if you will, comes out directly almost across from Cedar Forest Drive, who's having enough heartache.
And that's what my comment was gonna be.
Right.
Thank you for bringing that up, is that is a tremendously heavy traffic area.
Yeah.
And the driveway that is currently there now would not fit 2 cars. That would have to be developed.
That would have to be improved, no doubt, but.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, I'm going to let you, come up and give us your name and address, and if you have something to say, we'll certainly love to hear it.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ellen Mays, and this property where we're talking about coming into is from North Peoples Lane. It runs to North Peoples Lane. The Old Nashville Highway, it just, that's where the home place is. It's got have two areas to enter this property. We would be not coming Old Nashville Highway, but from the back.
Is there an easement or access to those parcels that you're locked in from? Is that recorded already, or is that just a handshake?
No, I don't know.
Well,
What
I
you
mean,
mean
I'm trying to
handshake?
figure out, you said access to Nora Peebles. Where-
North Peoples Lane.
I know, but how do you get there from this parcel?
Because part of that property, it belongs to me.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand, because it doesn't show it, right?
So you're saying you can get through,
Yes.
there's a road, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Kevin, this is the last time, if you can even remember, that we sent anything to an R6 zone that wasn't already R6 zoned.
Probably, a
It's
long
been some
time.
years.
The property next to this that's probably been 15 years or more.
Yeah.
I know we did change some properties when we amended the zoning ordinance to split R4 and the uses in R4 and created the R6 zone. We changed some zoning then, certainly. But that's been 20 years ago.
Well, then, when you look around this property, Ms. Mays, there's a lot of residential, there's a lot of R2 zone there.
Yes,
and-
apartments are right beside.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of density there that you're requesting, and I'm just asking a question to help me understand a little bit better. Have you looked into something that's less dense when is this your property you're selling?
No, yeah, I'm not selling it.
No, this parcel.
Yeah, that's my property.
That's your property?
Yes, sir.
Have you looked at anything that would be a little less dense, residentially, instead of apartments or townhomes? Because it's not quite 5 acres, and we've sort of had a roadmap we've been working off of, not doing townhome apartment developments on small tracts so much. They just create a lot of density and a lot of traffic headaches. So just curious if you've had any talks or discussion with whoever's trying to buy it, to whether or not they might want to do something residentially.
Well, it's not for sale,
Okay, you're just trying to get the zoning currently
Yes,
and
sir.
then sell it?
I want to build some apartments on it.
Okay, okay, all right. Well,
Don't want to sell it.
end result is the apartment idea, right? That's the end result. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I did some quick calculations, it's 4.8 acres, that's about 69 units. At the maximum,
The
that's
max.
60 to 90?
69.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have anything else for Ms. Mays?
Thank you, Ms. May.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thoughts or comments?
It's a lot to put on Nora Peoples.
I
It's
have
a small,
yeah.
that's a small road.
My comment would only be, I'm not a fan of having apartments, such a dense living space right there in that location. Regardless if you could access in and out from Nora Peebles. It's just a really congested area already, and I'm not so sure that's the best place for it.
Okay, any other comments? Mark, I guess I heard from you is that residential maybe wouldn't be bad, but maybe something that was less dense to move forward with. Such as an R3 or could be,
Hypothetically, could be a nice 55-plus development type of thing for seniors or
Right.
whatever, but.
on a PCD. Okay.
But the request in front of us is for an R6 zoning.
And if I'm looking at it just from a map perspective, it's not consistent when you're looking at the large mass of R2, the C4 that fronts it. And I do too, also have concerns about Nora Peoples. Just my thought. Other questions or comments? I will then entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny this rezoning request. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of denying this rezoning request, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This rezoning request has been denied. We are now on to our next item, which is another rezoning request. This comes from Gail Snoddy, 406 College Street, rezoning R2 to R4.
Yeah, this is a property has frontage on College, addressed as College Street, also has frontage on Eden Springs Road West. About a half acre approximately of property. Currently zoned R2, requested to be rezoned to R4. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1 and R2. This is kind of on the very edge, but it is part of the Depot District character area. So a very similar land use plan is what we have on a couple of other requests we've looked at tonight. This is right on the very edge of it, but it is still part of that Depot District character area. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Eden Springs Road as a minor arterial, and Division Street, which becomes College Street at this location, right by this location, as a collector. Adequate right-of-way does exist for Eden Springs Road. Adequate right-of-way would be required to be dedicated for the Division Street or College Street frontage. There is an existing church and a single-family dwelling located on this property currently, as well as 2 detached buildings. The existing buildings are legally non-conforming as to location from existing property lines. The rezoning request would allow for the property to be divided into 2 tracts, with the church on one track and the house on the second. The existing buildings would be required to meet this minimum setback from the new property line. They obviously wouldn't be grandfathered from that line. But if the new line that would be created, they would have to meet those setbacks. That is the reason for this request. Again, there's a house and a church both on the property, and they're wanting to divide it into 2 tracts. There's not enough land to meet the minimum lot size in R2 of 12,000 square feet for both lots, and so that's why they have submitted this to you all for consideration. So that's what we have.
Questions for Kevin?
Question.
Go ahead.
So we don't have any idea what would be going here?
Well, it's just, the initial plan at least would be just to keep what's there and just divide it into 2 tracts of land and be able to then sell the house. The church owns all of the property, they won't sell the house as a separate tract of land, so.
But, okay, in fair question, and going along, following up with that, with an R4, what's the most density that could be allowed?
You could have single-family lots that are 6,000 square feet in size, or you could have a duplex on 10,000 square feet. So, in theory, if this were rezoned, there is enough land there for, you could, if they got enough road frontage, if they can make it work, you could have 2 10,000 square foot lots, which would, so you could have two, you could end up with 2 duplexes. That would be the maximum that you would end up with.
Got it. All right, thank you.
So you're saying 4 total units?
That would be the maximum, yeah. That would have to, if the initial, if the lot gets divided up with a house that has less than 10,000 square feet, it could only ever be a single-family house at that point, and then you would have you could end up with a duplex at that point if the church were ever to be removed on the other lot.
So you've spoken with the developer on this.
Yes.
What is the intention of this subdivision?
The intention of the subdivision is for the church to be able to sell the house off,
So with the church to remain,
the church to remain, yes.
and then the house?
The house would be sold and so as a
Okay.
separate parcel of land.
And in replacement of the house, it could be a duplex then, whoever buys it.
If the lot that gets created is at least 10,000 square feet, yes. Just because of the existing development that's on the property, you're most likely not gonna have a 10,000 square foot lot with a house.
They'd have enough for a single family, though.
It'll be enough for a single family house, yes, but because I know there's an existing storage building they are wanting to keep with the church uses.
Yeah.
So, it's a built-in place, not a movable shed or anything like that. It's there, so.
If the church were to go away, and I guess it is dependent upon the lot size, we could end up with a duplex there,
You could-
correct?
You could. And there's some duplexes in that downtown area, but you could end up with another duplex. Yeah.
Okay,
At least these would be new ones.
yeah. Other questions for Kevin? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Tim. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Miranda. Further discussion?
One quick question.
Sure.
Access to these properties would come from where?
Their existing access points are already onto College Street.
On College, okay, they would remain there? Okay.
I don't think they're not looking to change anything physically on the property. It's just to create this line,
Okay.
this boundary line.
Just making sure.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This rezoning request is approved. Okay, item number 4, and it looks like we're still under rezoning, is from Jyothine Karam, Rock Springs Road, rezoning C4 to C2.
Yeah, this is a tract of land on Rock Springs Road. It's actually 4 tracts of land that total 6.63 acres. This was divided, there's been a plat approved and recorded to divide these tracts. The currently zoned C4, requested to be zoned C2. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1, R3, PRD, which is the Rock Springs Senior Apartments, and then C2 on the north side of Rock Springs Road. Land use plan for this area, this is included in the Sam Ridley character area, would support a combination of retail uses and services that are kind of provide for local and regional customers. Major thoroughfare plan does designate Rock Springs Road as a collector, and adequate right-of-way does exist already for that, for the plat that's already been recorded on this site. So we did receive, since you all received your packet, we did receive, and it's on your desk tonight, a concept plan for the proposed development with this as a C2 type development versus C4. The main impetus for this is my understanding there's, at least on one of the lots, they have a potential for some sort of a drive-through coffee shop. That's not allowed in C4 to have any type of drive-through type restaurant, and so that's why they have requested the C2 designation. So think that's all I've got.
And if this were to go through, C2 the site plan would come.
The
and
site
we
plan
could
would come before you.
Look at the traffic issue, if any, and ingress, egress.
Right.
And also, if they decided to put some sort of sit-down restaurant in this center, that would have to meet our parking regs.
Yes.
Yeah. It's along a corridor where there's plenty of C2, so.
You know, I think we looked at this as C4 for some time, thinking that, you know, there might be further single-family development, but when I look at this tract, there, you know, and you look at the creek that runs through there, you look at, you know, now we have a senior living facility there. There's quite a bit of natural buffer there, just the way it exists. And to Mark's point, we do have, you know, C2 along this area. And I don't, as this is developed out, I don't see the opportunity, and Kevin, this will probably be in the form of a question to you. I really don't see the opportunity of any immediate residential behind this tract of land.
You've got quite a bit of, certainly abutting it, yes, because you've got quite a bit of floodplain.
Yeah.
On the, especially on the south side. This area, on this tract was, actually, some fill material was placed here and an area of, an area was excavated on the other side of the creek to kind of, to compensate that from a floodplain standpoint. And so, you have some area, quite a bit of area kind of between the senior living and the creek that is essentially going to have to be remain open for the most part because of floodplain issues there. So you could end up with, you might end up with a few lots. You know, we have the future single family shown that was a part of the senior living plan. You might see a few lots there, but you got quite a bit of distance between them and the creek. So I think there's enough buffer there for that not to be too bad of an issue.
Anything additional would of course be addressed
Sure,
for our guidelines for buffering.
sure. We'd have to look at that with site plans.
Yeah. Other comments or questions?
I move to approve staff comments, Chairman.
All right, I have a motion to approve staff comments from Mark. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this rezoning request, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This rezoning request is approved. We are now on to our next rezoning request from Ryan Hollingshead, 6267 Lee Road, rezoning PRD to PUD. Is that right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, this is a rezoning request, and it's an existing approved PRD that has been requested to be amended, to amend the residential piece as well as add commercial uses as well. So, which is why it's a PUD, not just an amended PRD. Surrounding zoning is PRD in town and RM in Rutherford County. The land use plan for this area would support medium-density, single-family residential development. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Rocky Fork Road as a principal arterial and Lee Road as a collector. Adequate right-of-way is shown to be dedicated for these streets. The existing approved PRD is for 432 single-family lots. The requested PUD, and this is a slight change from what you all have in your packet, is what's in front of you. They have actually, it was 446 single-family lots, it's actually 436 single-family lots. Still 220 townhomes, and then the 6 commercial lots. There's actually a slight reduction. It was about 216 acres, it's now about 214.02 acres. And with that reduction, they had some area that was shown that as they clarified their boundaries, it did remove some area, and they did remove about 10 lots there. So there's a slight change. So basically the same, it's all the same road layout and everything like that, it's just about 10 fewer single-family lots shown as proposed. The commercial lots, they've got 3 shown on Lee Road and 3 shown on Rocky Fork Road. The original request did have kind of 2 on each side as C4 and 1 on each side as C2. We did, as staff, did recommend utilizing everything just be C4, not have any C2 lots. Their amended request that's in front of you on your desk there, they did change all of the lots to be C4, with the exception they did want to allow for the gas station use, which would be a C2 type use. But not any of the other C2 uses, but they did want to ask for that, so.
And where's that located? Is that on
They
Rocky
didn't
Fork?
specify a specific lot,
Okay.
so it would be any, I guess, potentially all of them.
Either
That actually
for
happened.
Rocky Fork or Lee?
Yes.
Okay.
Since they did not propose any specific architectural elevations for those commercial buildings, the requirements would default to meet design review. Required minimum fire flow for the commercial development is 1,500 gallons per minute at 20 PSI. The residential would be 1,000. This does fall within CUD service area. They have, we have not received an updated will serve letter, so I do not know the status on the fire flow for this area. I do know that they did do some upgrades on the Rocky Fork Road side at least, so we should be okay, but we'll have to get that information from CUD. We had several comments. A lot of these have been addressed, but I'll still go through them. We asked them number 7 to show calculations for the required and provided open space and required and provided improved open space, and they have addressed that one. We asked them to show the amenities to be built, and they have shown that, so we can remove that comment. And we also asked for a phasing plan, development schedule, and they have submitted that. Number 10, when this was approved originally, there was a traffic study. That's been over 5 years ago, and so they do need to, and obviously this increases the density and added the commercial uses, so we do need an updated traffic study, and any provisions of that study will be required to be, any improvements would have to be required to be installed by the developer. So we'll need to keep that comment. Comment number 11, they did have shown that maximum square footage. The houses, the maximum square footage would be, I think it was 3,600. And then for the single family, the townhomes were a minimum 1,500, I believe. Didn't have a max on those, but, and then commercial uses they would just comply with the requirements of C4 as far as the max floor area they could have on each lot. Which is comment number 12. Comment number 13 regarding it, they did correct that issue, so we can remove that. Comment number 14, we just asked them to clarify, they had the right-of-way shown incorrectly in one place, but correctly in another, and they corrected that issue, so we can remove comment 14. They did ask for additional mail kiosks, so we can remove 15. And they added a note to address comment 16 regarding the stub streets that do exceed 150 feet. They've added that as a note to the plans, so we can remove comment 16. 17, 18, and 19 are CUD comments, so they'll need to address those with CUD. So, as far as the overall layout of the PRD, is very similar to what was already approved as far as the road connections at Lee Road and Rocky Fork Road. There's an area, a pretty large area, Olive Branch flows through this entire site. And so that area has some floodplainin and was being left alone from a development standpoint originally, and that's still the case here. The main change, especially with the reduction in the single-family lots, is they did add the townhomes to the development, which was all single-family previously. So
What'd that change?
I just probably just to increase their density, to help with their development costs and those kind of things would be my guess. I haven't talked to them about it. That's just pure speculation on my part.
From a density perspective, even with this change, are we somewhere around 3 units or so? It's pretty large.
It's about 3 per acre, just a shade over 3 per acre. Because there's 656 units on 214 acres. And you were about 2 per acre previously.
Does staff have a recommendation as far as if there's a gas station unit on
Well, I mean,
where
I
it should
think,
be and the reason being?
you know, we had recommended all C4, so the gas station actually wouldn't fit that. But if you do, we would certainly feel more comfortable with it on the Rocky Fork Road side than the Lee Road side, primarily because that is a portion of the road here. That is the planned corridor connection between Eden Springs to McEwen Drive. And so this actually would go right along this frontage here. And so that's why we had no issue with commercial uses on Rocky Fork Road. We had some concerns about commercial uses on Lee Road, just from the standpoint of long-term not being as feasible as along the Rocky Fork Road frontage. So, but if you wanted to approve a gas station, to answer your question directly, I would certainly prefer it on Rocky Fork because of that reason, because you're looking at a much more major corridor there than you would on Lee Road. Although we are looking at doing some improvements on Lee Road certainly, but not, development density and all is going to be more of a residential in nature, whereas Rocky Fork Road, you might see more commercial uses.
And I think we've had some discussion around that as far as Lee goes, with Charles working on that aspect to account for, as, you know, the growth as we continue to grow out. Certainly when we're looking at something like this, we're not going to turn around in 6 months and it's all going to be done, and we're going to have just an immediate impact. I think what we're trying to do, and I'll let Charles stop me if I'm wrong, is we're trying to work on the road to develop as this area continues to develop out.
Charles, this is pretty close to the one we just did a month or so ago, correct? And we had the traffic study and the turn lane, all that stuff we discussed.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's east and south, but it's pretty close to that, yes.
So is the sewer connection coming right anytime down there through?
Yeah,
soon?
that's part of the Olive Branch sewer is there.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it goes right through this
So will
tract.
those neighboring properties, will they be able to kind of look at maybe sharing in those installments or what have you into their developments, or how will that work?
As far as, well, I mean, the sewer main is in Olive Branch. I mean, that's completed. As far as how, yes, as part of this development, they would be required as they extend sewer to all the lots and everything, put it work, they would be required to stub to those adjoining tracks from that main as a part of their development.
Another question I have, when I look at the town portion of this, there's one dog park on the east side, but not on the west side that I can see with my poor vision. So the people that live on the west side are gonna have to cross through a residential area to access their little pets on the east side.
Yeah, let's see what page has. The page 20,
I'm on,
yeah, page 23 kind of has a little bit better.
Right, that's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, and they do have just that one area.
And what about the people on the west side of the residential?
They do have an area kind of set up. mean,
I see it, but I can't
you ha-
read
You
it.
have room, you certainly have room to set up, to add more.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
on-
not a
On
problem,
that west
but-
side, they kind of a large area. They call it a sports field or whatever, certainly in that area you
Well, I'm
can
not
add.
playing sports if it's a doggy park.
But I'm just saying, you could add as part of that, you could have an area set aside
Right.
as another dog park there. You know, they have the amenity area, kind of closer to Rocky Fork Road with a kind of a pavilion and playground area there, as well as another playground kind of near the townhome side. There's a couple playgrounds shown.
And it's all a CE buffer wrapping the perimeter?
I think it is anywhere there's multifamily adjoining.
Right.
Yes.
Is that ample?
That
guess-
would be what we would require. I think there was one area they'd shown a B, I think, but I think, yeah, there's just, anywhere where the multifamily is adjoining those surrounding single-family areas. It would not be required to buffer single-family to single-family, but
Well, forgive me, because I can't see the small print. Bring my readers. Is there any kind of bus pickup for the town section?
there's not one shown at this time. We would, I'm assuming those are private streets that you're showing, so they would have to have some sort of, we would look at that typically with the site plan, but they would have to have some sort of bus stop, yeah. Probably two, maybe one for each kind of
Right.
phase of that.
And
All
are-
the other streets are public streets and would, you know, we would not have to have a bus stop.
In the pattern book, all the towns are two-car. Is that correct?
That's correct,
And they're all 35-foot setbacks?
yes. And on the single family, they did have, again, the two-car garages, but they did have a 25-foot setback, but 35 to the garage on that.
Is the guest parking in each town section, you feel okay with that with two-car driveway?
Yeah, they've got, and it's really spread out through the whole development. They did.
Yeah, I see that.
They did a good job with that, with regards to kind of spreading those out. And they're pretty much all kind of quadruplex size units or type, so.
Well,
they're kinda
they gotta
showing-
be a pretty good size if they're all two-car.
Right, and so, and they're all, they kind of spread the guest parking kind of through that. Kind of a couple, kind of set a couple spaces for each, kind of set of units, so.
Do we still have HVAC units in the rear?
Yeah, that's standard, they'll have to do that, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm just curious how we define a playground.
I mean, they've got some drawings and pictures of it, I mean, it's actual.
I've seen where pictures didn't match up the product, so I'm just asking how we define it, or do we?
We don't define it specifically, other than it has to be actual equipment and approved. We don't dictate. a
Most of
certain-
them do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah,
I can see where somebody might put a slide in and call it a playground.
yeah.
Charles?
I guess I'm curious as to what the rationale for the significant increase in density is. This is 150% of what was approved, 50% increase. And it seems to me it's also potentially establishing a higher density to the, I guess that would be the south. You know, this is a pretty dramatic increase in density for an area that's already seen an incredible amount of development.
Again, I can only speculate, as to, I just assume it's to increase the ability to make the numbers work from a development standpoint. That's the only thing, but that's pure speculation on my part. Yeah.
Let's do this. We're getting some questions here that Kevin can't answer, so if there's someone here that could come and speak to this, if you give us your name and address, please.
Sure can. My name's Clyde Roundtree. I'm with Huddleston Steel Engineering, representing Ryan Hollinshead, and Chris McGuire is the engineer. He had to be in Murfreesboro tonight for city council. As far as the density increase and the change in the plans, a lot of what we're responding to is the homes are, I would say they're fairly modest homes. I mean, we had to put a maximum of 3,600 square feet, but more than likely they're gonna be 1,400 to 1,600 square feet homes. With that style of home, that we felt like the townhomes were kind of complementary. The townhomes would be about 1,600 square feet as well. So it's really providing an alternate housing style. Obviously, the townhomes would be a little bit more of a price point affordability that allows that, where a lot of times townhome developments are kind of isolated outside of a neighborhood. We feel like to have a townhome community within a neighborhood where they have access to the green spaces and access to the quality of life that the development can create, we think it'd be a really optimum place for someone to live who maybe can't quite afford a single-family detached home, but they're not necessarily sacrificing the quality of life by being in a townhome that typically you find. So we were excited about offering the opportunity for them to be a part of a larger community. It'd probably be a stepping stone. More than likely, they move into the townhome and then try to move into the neighborhood. That would probably be the logical progression for them as homeowners. But that's the logic behind it. The market is kind of dictating that as well. We're just finding that, the houses are getting smaller, the lots are getting smaller, and townhomes are becoming more of your affordable option. We just feel like it'd be great for them to be in a community like this and still live in a home that they could afford.
Can you address Mark's questions? You had questions as far as the quality of amenities that's being proposed. Could you address that for us?
I can. So we try to spread the amenities throughout the development, so they're on both ends of development. The largest one's in the center. The largest one's a little over 6 acres. That's where the sports field's identified. We left a little access easement between the houses to make sure that could be utilized. That will basically go right up to the creek, so it'll be a little bit more of a naturalistic kind of feel there. The other ones, there is the one that's on the Rocky, it's actually on the Lee Road side, has been detailed. We just did that to show conceptually what we're thinking. That shows a covered pavilion with the kiosk. It shows the playground area, pretty strong landscaping around it. As was mentioned, we haven't designed the playground, so we can't quite qualify all the elements of the playground. But we did want to make sure that there's a level of quality, but the male kiosk are connected, so that provides some parking at that access point as well, so families can drive to that. Kids can have birthday parties, you name it. But we want to make sure they're large enough, there's ample room for people to, enjoy the pavilion at the same time, be at the playground and not look like they're, crowding the space. We met the requirement for amenity area required for the formal open space. If we need to redistribute that, if you'd like us to redirect that, we can. As was mentioned, the dog park, it is weighted on one side of the property, but that's fairly typical. You don't typically have two, at least from my experience. There's ample open space in other areas. But if that's something we need to consider, before we go to, council, we can do that as well, modify that.
Do you know offhand if any of your townhomes have a master down?
I don't know the answer offhand. They're pretty large, so I think there probably would be, but I don't know exactly. I haven't seen the floor plans for the townhomes. I can verify that as well.
Okay, looking at the plan, it seems like the townhomes are weighted more toward the Rocky Fork Road area as far as, I see more single-family toward the Lee Road. Was that included as part of the concept, or did it just work out that way from
just the design?
There's two elements that were important there. The grades, it's fairly steep, so we thought that along that back row, it's just the way town can kind of leverage the grade, so that was one of the implications. I will answer your question, because as far as the C2 that we were looking for, originally the C2 was on Rocky Fork Road, so we anticipate, they just wanted to keep the option open for a gas station. We're not committed to a gas station right now. It'd be way premature out there to have a gas station, but we wanted to provide the opportunity in the future. So they just didn't want to close the door on a gas station. That's the only reason the C2 got into the mix. We're very comfortable with C4, but it is on Rocky Fork, because that was a question that came up, was, potential location. It's never been mentioned on Lee Road at all.
So you guys would commit to, if this were approved with a gas station usage, it would be on the Rocky Fork side?
Yeah, I don't think we'd have any problem committing to that.
And you're still looking at the full development of this being 8 years?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. We're really trying to figure out the logic between making sure that a phasing plan is required, and we wanted to walk through it. So yes, ma'am, 8 years is what we're looking at.
I see that in every page, all homes to be a minimum of 1,400, but you said there were some that were 36.
Maximum.
That's the
Yeah, for the
maximum.
single-family max.
Is there a breakdown of, it's almost all gonna be 1,400 and a few up? I mean, is
Not
there a
really.
breakdown at
It's,
all?
they're teaming potentially with a developer that their homes are fairly consistent once they start the development. So we do think they're gonna be in the 1,400 to 1,600 range for the single family. But the PUD is required to have a maximum, so there may be an occasion where they move from that. There may be some premium lots, maybe those lots that are backing up to the Greenway may have a little bit more substance to them, size-wise, house-wise.
And the 3,600, that's also a kind of that's the maximum under the fire code to have that 1,000 gallons per minute, at 20 PSI fire flow. You get above that's where then the number goes up as far as what you're required to have, so.
You might be hard pressed to build a 3,600 on these lots anyway.
Yes, sir. I think so.
Is that kind of what we've been doing for single families, is 1,400 square feet? What's,
We've had, a lot of them are in that 14, 15 range. A lot of them, we've had 16 to 18 kind of as the minimum too. 1,500 is the minimum on the townhomes. We've had anywhere from 15, 16, 17 typically on those. So it's in the same ballpark as far as the minimum.
What were the ones on Rock Springs we just approved?
Rock Springs, I'm trying to think.
That we had the last planning.
Oh, yeah, I think they were, I should remember that was pretty recent.
Were they like 14-ish?
I think some of them, the single family was a little bigger, yeah, because they had some single family in that mix too.
Well, and a lot of this, to be fair, is market driven anyway. They're not gonna build something they can't sell. I mean, there's, the market's a little weird and driven right now by interest rates and costs and so forth, so.
So, yeah, just, I'm concerned about the additional density, primarily related to the traffic that's going to be in the area. And with the other developments that are already in play, highly concerned about that.
Tim, that's one reason I asked about the one we just approved. It was all R3. It was all single-family residential. And so, and I'm certainly not opposed to having a mixed development. I don't like seeing just towns, just apartments, things like that, but a good mix as a community, I don't mind necessarily seeing that, but.
And we feel like the density is still rather low. That was one of our hopes, is to make sure it didn't have a real high density kind of feel with the band of green space behind the townhomes. I don't think you're going a lot of times density creates almost more of an uninhabitable feeling. We think it's going to be a really pleasant experience to live here because of the amount of green space they're all going to be exposed to.
I think that Tim's concern and Charles's concern about the towns is the perception that can be single-family residential throughout and be doable with these access points with Rocky Fork and Lee Road being what they are? I mean, I know you don't want to answer that because you're asking for something that we're, but.
Well, I think that also the stub streets that are coming out, off the property towards that area allows it to lend into, additional development. So there may be additional outlets that would come as part of future development. That was, I'm not sure if Kevin was one, I'm not sure where that came from. Again, I'm not the engineer, I apologize for that, but I think there is the condition of having more outlet points in future development.
We're not actually going down in size as far as the square footage of the towns. They're a minimum of 1,500 square feet, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they're just attached.
Mm-hmm.
They're houses that are attached. With 2 cars.
Mm-hmm. And the 35-foot setback.
Tim, you mentioned your concern about it. Is there something you'd propose or you see differently that
Yeah,
you, Charles?
my proposal would be just, honestly, personally don't have a concern with the commercial parts on the ends, but the extra density within the housing right there is what I'm concerned about. Again, we're gonna have a lot of traffic. We've talked about what's coming, and the gentleman, our guest speaker, articulated very, very well. Excellent job articulating what we're doing here, but what I heard was, yes, we're making this a little more economically viable for the land. That's not what you said, but that's what I heard. And I don't know that that's an absolute must. So I'm very concerned about how many residents we have within that amount of space and the related traffic.
I know that they were committed, I know we're gonna do a traffic study, but they're committed to doing road improvements on phase 1, anticipating the future development. I think there is a concern with that level of townhomes if we didn't have 2 outlet points. I think that would feel very different if it was leading onto one road, because both of those roads have a significant capacity. I think Rocky Forks improvements will really help. Right now you feel very rural out there, but when that road goes to 5-lane, it's going to be a whole different feeling. So we're kind of anticipating that congested potential will be alleviated when Rocky Fork gets expanded. I think our phasing plan will probably be somewhat synchronized with that. So, because I know that the Hollinsheads don't want to have it to where, it's a uninviting, subdivision living. You can't get out. You have to wait 10 minutes to turn right or something like that, or turn left. So I think part of the phasing plan, they didn't really want to commit to the phasing plan as part of the process, but they're going to anticipate moving as the community moves, and road expansion is critical. I think the commercial development just kind of, what Mike just kind of has a vision to go, let's just earmark some stuff. We don't know if it's going to be out there, but the potential's there. We sized it so if we had to flip those back into residential, it could happen. We didn't want to kind of preclude the possibility of this just going back into homes. But that was kind of the future anticipation of road expansion. So I agree with you that, if you look at it now and those roads and the conditions they're in, it feel like you're overpacking the road potentially, but I think we're totally anticipating the future.
And actually, Kevin, I think you said that it's basically 3 per acre. That's fairly low density.
The density is 3 per acre, yeah.
Which is actually not, that's really not a bad, we've had higher density than that if you're looking at per acre, right?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, and to Amy's point, I think planning and I know the council level, we've looked at making communities. It's not just, it's a blend, but I think you have to get the math right on the density and the blend part of it, because a community is made up of a lot of different styles
I
of
mean,
housing. So
it looks like a lot, but you're talking about well over 200 acres.
200 acres, yeah.
So,
a lot of green
and-
space too.
yeah.
A lot of green space.
and different outlets,
And like I said, that's why we're excited, because you can live in a townhome and still have what I consider more of a quality of life of a residential community versus more, just townhome to townhome to, townhome to commercial, it's such a typical flow. We feel like we can invite, again, typically, we're thinking the flow will be from the townhome to a single-family home, that they'll kind of get established, hopefully grow in love with the community and stay.
And again, to Amy's point, the number sounds a little larger than what the density actually calculates to be.
Yeah, it's not bad.
The two-car garage properties, it's different. I mean, you don't have single-car driveways and single-car garage. You've got width and you've got setback. You've got plenty of parking now with our setback ordinances, so I kind of like the blend. It's just the fact that it's, I want to hear Tim and Charles's concerns too, but going forward, I think you're going to see communities develop out this way, the larger tracts anyway. And the smaller ones, we had one earlier, 4.5, 5 acre tract. We're just, that's probably not good fits, at least in my opinion, but neighborhoods and community with playgrounds, dog parks, things like that, we're making something different there.
And I think to that point, two-car garages on a townhome means that it could be a family. It's not necessarily a single person. It's not like, young married. It could actually be, a family that wants to have their own place, buy their own place, but still live in a community. I'm excited about that component because we're not, one car parking space, that's two cars.
work
That's a whole
very well.
different, that's a whole different demographic that would appeal to.
The driveway's all double wide
Yes,
to
sir.
match the garage.
They are,
Yes.
yeah. Four-car capacity, I believe, outside the parking.
I got a dumb question, just
No such
because I
thing.
see things sometimes I have to
I
ask
ask dumb
myself out loud. When I look at the center of this drawing, and I see right in the middle of the blue area, right down on the south end there, the wide blue square kind of, how would town people access the green space on the other side of the residential? Without going all the way down to the end.
Good catch.
Well, I think that the green space is concentrated where the PRD label is. Most
Right.
of that's floodway, so
Right.
I think there are kind of,
But
access
if I
points.
live in one of those towns, am I
Mhm.
gonna have to go all the way down to the end of the street to get around to get in there? Is there a way to access that?
There's really not, there's not an amenity on that side, so it's.
I'm not even saying there's an amenity, I'm just talking about green space. Some people like to walk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not-
I
not
see where you
currently.
could lose a lot or two there doing that, right? But,
I mean, that's a possibility, because we did, that gap that we added, if it's almost like a beach access where there's two beach houses kind of getting a little connector to the green space. I think that's a possibility. I just don't know what they're walking into, if it'd be more of like a natural trail. I don't know what that terrain is. I can visit that with the engineer.
if you would, I think access granted
little
is
easements,
better
little-
than no access at all.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think we have room to slide them down. I don't think that would be an issue at all.
And I'd be interested to see the phase, the plan phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
It's there, isn't it?
It's on page 24.
Oh, I just thought that was the sections. Okay, so this is how you're gonna phase out the build, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I guess my continuing concern is, I think the way it's laid out is fine. I think the mix of townhomes and single-family makes a lot of sense. But in an area that's seen such development, it seems like one of our objectives would be to slow it down and try to reduce the density. And we're just adding another 222 units. Not that they won't be well-designed but I just, just continue to have concerns that where we have the opportunity to not increase the density, we should take advantage of that.
Help me to understand what that looks like. I'm trying to, are you saying,
Well, I think.
are you saying don't do this project, or are you saying?
So I would significantly cut back on the number of townhomes or eliminate them altogether. You know, if you look at the drawing without the townhomes, you basically have a premium subdivision. Lots of green space, lots of open space. When you add in the townhome element, not that they're not going to be very nice townhomes, but you have changed the nature of the project and increased by 50% the number of units that we're permitting.
Okay.
Hypothetically speaking, of course, to Charles's argument, if you remove, let's say, half the townhomes, oh, where'd you go? I was looking down, looked up, you were gone.
He was
We hadn't even
tired.
voted yet.
Sorry.
Hypothetically speaking, let's just say we saw as a body that the towns are creating a lot of concerns. I can hear it from a couple of our members. If you were to remove a portion of those towns, allowing a community to still be there, you're going to come back and redraw this and get more residential lots. So really, what's the true trade-off of density if that were to occur? I mean, we're going to lose potentially 80, 90 towns. How many lots would we pick back up in the trade? I know it's engineering and I'm putting you on the spot, but
Well,
would you pick up 40 or 50 more lots potentially?
I think we're struggling over 3 units an acre. I mean, that's not density. That's
No, I
my
agree.
challenge. I'm going,
I'm not disagreeing. I'm hearing the arguments and I'm trying to have some dialogue to help.
yeah, I'm not sure of the evolution of the towns. I think the Holland said wanted to diverse the product type to make some access points to the community that are more of a first step kind of from an affordability
But I don't know if
standpoint.
you're answering the question. I don't know if you.
I don't really, yeah, you'd probably lose you'd probably get half, probably the yield, maybe less.
All right, so let's say we lost 80 towns. We'd pick up 40 lots.
I don't think you get nearly that.
Okay,
Yeah.
30 lots maybe.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. So we'd be looking at reducing 50 home sites. And I don't know if that's impactful, is my
Oh,
point,
there's no doubt.
right?
Yeah, I think if you look at the nature of the site that I think we're having to wrestle with, your roads are long, there's a lot of infrastructure, that's why the density is 3 units per acre, it's a very spread out development. I think because they're brown and they're all in the same area, it looks like it's a very compact area. But I think in the scheme of things, it's a very large open space. And if you had the same acreage, but in a square or, something that you could really pack it in, you wouldn't be running roads, we're running roads on both sides. There'd probably be a main access road with spurs going off of that, and your development would be much more concentrated. We think the fact that that Olive Branch goes through is a tremendous amenity,
Got it too.
but it's really, it's pushing all our development to the
Pushes everything
peripherals.
north and south of.
And we're almost having to double up. Our road systems, north side, south, it's that kind of thing. So there is some economies in the fact that we're doing so much from an infrastructure standpoint to support both sides of the creek. I think that's where it was favorable from a feasibility standpoint to keep the townhomes in place. And like I said, the grading there is pretty substantial. So with townhomes, you have the ability to kind of put an upper section and a lower section and kind of run them. They're kind of running basically with the slope, which we think is also going to be very appealing aesthetically because they're not going to be just, this rock mass. There's going to be some terracing to it. But if you look at the depth of the lots, if you get into that area, houses, now you're putting houses on precarious slopes. It really gives us the ability to terrace. That's kind of the saving grace because it's all kind of sloping down kind of naturally towards the creek. And that townhome section, we didn't feel like it belonged anywhere else on the development, except for where those grades would really be suitable for it. And they're only 40, they're just not that deep. Houses are much deeper. So it just gave us the ability to manipulate the grade. So it's a good product type for the topography as well.
Yep, I noticed that, looking at the topography, obviously it is very steep in some places.
It is.
Right there. And again, you articulated very well on why that makes sense from a topography standpoint. It does bring up another question, curiosity. with that steep topography, will you still be able to maintain the driveway at an acceptable grade from the street to the driveway transition?
The engineer really wrestled with this because, you know, he spoke with the guys and said, you know, this is expensive. You know, this is not, we can't, you know, he says it's probably gonna stair step down and stairs, you know, it's gonna be, you know, these are on this side of the road here.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it's gonna be a cut. I would say on the backside of those townhomes against the property line, there's probably gonna be some sort of a, maybe not near vertical, but it's gonna, you know, you're definitely cutting the grade there, based on what I've heard from the engineer.
Challenging piece is what you're saying.
It's a beautiful piece of property,
Yeah.
but there are some challenging sections for sure.
Anything else? I think we can let you sit down now.
Thank you.
Okay,
We'll call
Thank
you
you.
back.
yeah. Thoughts from the commission, or any further questions or comments?
I think if you look at the big picture of how many acres and 3 per acre, the density's really not bad. It just, when you're looking at it, it's, oh my goodness. You know, that's massive, but we're talking about over 200 acres.
To your point, it's really an R3 subdivision sectioned off in different formats to make the topography work.
Right.
Anything else?
Actually, looking at the topography again, it almost appears, it's hard to visualize, it almost appears the townhomes will be up above the individual homes, right? Like literally up the hill, a little higher.
Yeah, certainly it slopes down to the creek.
Yeah,
so,
all the way down to the creek,
Yeah.
and obviously steeper near the top. Okay.
I think this is kind of what the planning commission meetings and the council working together have said we'd like to see a little bit more of the blends
Of
and
the
not,
mix.
not just
Yeah.
solid, you know, more neighborhoods and the blends and,
Let's do this. Charles, you had a concern about traffic and how that, and Charles, come up and let's just talk through Lee Road, how it expands. You know, do you see anything from a capacity issue with this?
Well, we're working on, like I said, Lee Road will become a 3-lane section. That engineering will be starting with December, January, the engineering portion of that. Like I said, down on Rocky Fork, that will be part of the connector, the McEwen connector, so that will be a 5-lane, you know, coming through there. It'll probably start out as a 3-lane with the possibility to, as we grow into a 5-lane, pretty much like Eden Springs is designed to be a 5-lane section. And then right now, we just built the 2 lanes with a center median. So it'll probably start out the same way, and then like I said, as developer said, as the growth comes about, then that extra laneage will come on board. And Cook's Lane is also looking at it to become a 3-lane, so it'll connect to each one of them, be 3-lane to Cook's Lane to 3 down to Rocky Fork Almaville, which that section will also be a 3-lane, which is in right-of-way now.
So is it your opinion that as these roads build out, it's taking into the potential capacity that we're gonna be looking at over the years as
Yeah,
this
that it-
continues to build out?
Right. Now, everything that the previous traffic studies have shown, that you're building out that Lee Road, Cook's Lane to 3, and then the Rocky Fork becoming a 5.
so a 3, 3, and a 5 eventually.
Right, yes.
We'll wrap this development.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That was all I had. I don't know if anybody else had a
I just
question.
don't
before
go
you're
too
not
soon
wanting
here.
Good question.
Yeah.
Call you back.
All right, thank you.
to- All right, thanks.
Very clarifying.
Okay. Anything else? Then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the staff comments.
I have a motion to approve from Amy with staff comments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
This motion is approved. Okay, we are next under rezoning Seven Oaks Business Park Phase 3, Seven Oaks Boulevard, PUD amendment.
Yes, this is a zoning request, part of this Phase 3 of Seven Oaks Business Park. Currently is zoned PUD, and they're asking, since it's a PUD amendment request that's been submitted, it's about 4.48 acres on Seven Oaks Boulevard. There's a mix of zoning here of the PRD, which is the Villages of Seven Oaks, which is directly across the street, and then C2 zoning on either side. The land use plan for this area is the 24 Gateway character area, which would kind of support a mix of uses and services for both local and regional in scale. Hospitality, retail, restaurant, and multifamily are particularly appropriate in this area. Major thoroughfare plan does designate Seven Oaks Boulevard as a collector, and adequate right-of-way does exist for that street. The previously approved PUD allowed for 26,000 square feet of office/warehouse space in 2 single-story buildings, and a third building, it was a 2-story building, which would have 89,752 square feet of climate-controlled self-storage. The requested amendment would remove the office warehouse buildings completely, and instead would be 2 single-story climate-controlled storage buildings. Those 2 buildings would total up to 100,000 square feet. So the overall building square footage would go down by about 16,000 square feet. And the use would be only climate-controlled storage instead of the climate-controlled storage in the office warehouse spaces. Couple of comments we had, which are relatively minor. One, just as a informational comment more than anything, that these buildings would be required to be sprinkled. And we did ask them to show some proposed utility services with sizes. They have not done that at this time, but that's really something we'll look at more closely at the site plan anyway, so that's what I have. I will say, I guess, from an architectural standpoint, this is very similar architecturally to what we looked at previously with the storage building. Obviously, it's a single-story building instead of a 2-story building, but it's very similar. The fronts and both sides would meet the relative, primarily brick building. The rear is metal. That was, again, consistent with what was approved previously.
Faces I-24.
And facing I-24, and was consistent with also the other buildings that are in the adjoining, the office warehouse development.
This is a good looking building, I've seen over here.
Kevin, I'm not seeing anything, and I know we had discussion before on buildings such as this. I'm not seeing any metal roll-up doors or anything. I mean, this is,
It's all indoor.
it's all indoor.
It's all climate controlled, and they're just pedestrian doors, kind of on all 4 sides of it, but no roll-up doors.
Same buffering applies as before, correct?
Yes.
Didn't we go down a story? We had 1 2-story building, correct?
It was, there was 1 2-story building, and now they're at the 2 single-story
once-
buildings. The total square footage of storage would actually be potentially a little larger, under the PUD could be, but the office warehouse space would be removed, so the total square footage would actually be less.
It's been my experience that something like this would generate a lot less traffic than
And the work use.
work use type thing where you may see
It'll be pretty limited traffic.
commercial vehicles and things such as
Open
that.
up doors.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Questions or comments concerning this PUD amendment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This PUD amendment is approved. Our next item was a sketch plat. Kevin, I understand,
It has been requested to be deferred for 1 month.
so we'll
yes.
need to take action as far as the deferral.
To get a motion to defer, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to defer.
I have a motion to
Second.
defer and a second. Thank you, Tim.
Do we, for a month, I mean, what,
I'll make a motion to defer to next month's meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second for basically a 30-day deferral.
Yes.
Any further questions or clarifications? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This sketch plat has been deferred. We are now on to final plats, the first one being Derby Run, Phase 2A, Rocky Fork, Amelville Road, owner, developer, Charter Commercial LLC.
Yeah, this is the final plat for Phase 2A of Derby Run. It's 29 lots, 8.08 acres as part of the Derby Run PRD. We had just a few comments. Number one, just informational that there is no streets on the major thoroughfare plan are affected with this request. We did ask them to add the signatures of the owner, surveyor, and CUD prior to submittal for recording. We'd asked them to label, there was an area between lots 269 and 270 as a public easement. If that's the case, that is the case for public access to the adjoining open space. So that label has been added, so that comment can be removed. Number 4 was a informational comment for them. A second entrance will have to be created once the building permit's been issued for the 100th house. With this phase, there have been 82 lots will have been created with only one entrance. They do so have, but before, they'll need to make the connection over to Inez Drive and the second connection back to Rocky Fork before they get to more than 18 more lots. So that's really, again, more informational for them than anything. Number 5, that has been addressed regarding the manhole there on Gallant Fox Drive. And number 6 was a CUD comment regarding ask for the plans to be submitted to them directly. So that would need to remain. So really, it's just 1, 2, 4, and 6. And with those comments, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin? Hearing no questions or comments, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comments.
Motion to approve with staff comments from Miranda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Amy. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This final plat is approved. We are now on to the addition to Villages of Valley Green, Section 4, Enon Springs Road West and Wildwood Drive, owner, developer, JSD Holdings.
Yeah, this is a plat for just one lot as part of the addition to Village of Valley Green Developments. It's one lot, it's 4.79 acres. It's the addition to Village of Valley Green PUD is what it's a part of. Just have frontage on Enon Springs Road West and Wildwood Drive. The site plan that's on your agenda later on would be what would be developed on this property. This is primarily just to dedicate the utility easements that would be a part of this the overall development. For our comments, we've had a few minor comments. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Enon Springs West as a minor arterial, and there is adequate right-of-way there. Ask to add the signatures of the owner prior to submittal for recording, and then they're showing the water main. They need to clarify where that's going to tie on at the water main on Wildwood Drive. So really just comments 1, 2, and 3. With those comments, staff would recommend approval.
Okay, questions for Kevin? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve with staff comments.
A motion to approve with staff comments from Mark. Do I have seconds?
I'll second.
Second. I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This final plat is approved. Our last item under final plats is Harts Branch Village, Phase 3, Rock Springs Road, owner, developer, Regent Homes LLC.
This is the last phase of Harts Branch. It's one lot, 7.48 acres. It's the Harts Branch Village, PRD. This is primarily to dedicate the easements, access easements and utility easements for this project. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Rock Springs Road as a collector, and adequate right-of-way is shown to be dedicated for this street. And we asked them to add the owner's signatures, and they fully submit it for recording. With those comments, staff would recommend approval.
Questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the staff comments.
Motion to approve the staff comments from Amy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Miranda. I have a motion and a second to approve the staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This final plat is approved. We are now on to site plans. The first item is addition to Villages of Valley Green, Section 4, Eden Springs Road West and Wildwood Drive, owner, developer, JSD Holdings.
This is the site plan for the plat that y'all just voted on. This is part of the Village Valley, addition to Village Valley Green PUD. It was rezoned to a PUD back in 2004. As part of this PUD, a residential and commercial component were approved for the corner parcel on Wildwood Drive and current Eden Springs Road West. The proposed site plan shows 47 apartments, 13 townhomes, and 9,000 square feet of commercial space. The approved PUD allowed for 60 residential units, which are shown, and 5,250 square feet of commercial space. Ingress and egress points are shown on both Wildwood Drive and Eden Springs Road West. The vehicular use area for the site is 1.54 acres, and that does require 6,710 square feet of open space landscaping. They are showing for 7,500. Parking required of 198 spaces, they are showing for 200. So they are in excess of about 2 spaces for our requirements. Handicap parking required of 5 spaces, and they're showing for 5 as well. Landscape plan shows a type C landscape buffer along the northern property line abutting the 2 single-family lots. Streetscaping is shown along Eden Springs Road West with a variety of trees lining Wildwood Drive between the driveways of the townhomes. Additional vegetation is shown behind the apartment buildings. Building 2 to buffer the residential buildings from the commercial building. Sparsely planted trees are shown along the eastern property line abutting the single-family lots. However, this lot line will need additional vegetation to create a buffer since we have a high density abutting single-family density. So the landscape buffer requirement is a type C buffer in this instance, so we do require some additional landscaping to be shown. Architectural elevations submitted show the commercial building on the front and rear to have a mixture of primary materials, which would include brick and glass glazing. Side elevations have not been submitted to us. The townhouse elevations submitted show the front elevation with what appeared to be a mixture of brick, stone, and fiber cement board siding. Staff did receive updated elevations, and a note was added for the townhomes that does note the materials will use a mixture of brick, stone, or fiber cement board siding. Apartment elevations, we did receive revised plans as well for these, and was for just a front and side elevation, which is shown for similar consistency with the townhouses, which would be a mixture of fiber, cement board, brick and stone as well. Standard comments 1 through 5 would all remain at this time. Staff comment 1 and 2 more or less go along with each other regarding the architectural elevations. To ensure that they're consistent with what Design Review requires, we would like them to submit all 4 elevations for all those buildings, along with a breakdown of percentages for materials to be used on those elevations to ensure that we are consistently meeting Design Review for those buildings. In addition, we want to see the height of the apartment buildings to ensure that fire department requirements any additional requirements don't kick in. So depending on the height of buildings, if you exceed, I believe it's 30 feet in height, you then have to increase the width of the drive aisles. So currently they're showing about 22-foot wide drive aisles, so potentially we're looking at 26-foot wide if that is the case, if they are exceeding 30-foot height. So all that to be said, we don't know what it is at this time, so really we're speculating. So we do need to see what that height is on those buildings to further verify additional requirements for the site. Coming through is we asked them to show additional dumpster enclosure for the site. Currently they're showing 2. Staff doesn't believe 2 is sufficient enough to service the entire site for all these residential units and the commercial on the site. Comment number 4, we asked whether the townhouse would be a for sale product or rental. They had indicated that the townhouses are going to be for sale, and this does further affect how the site is serviced by the sewer, whether it be rental or for sale. So we're going to leave the second half of that comment remain, just let utilities address that at a later time. We also asked them to extend sewer to the properties to the north. They did extend to the single-family property to the left, and then the right one does not have it currently, so we would like to leave that comment to remain as well until they further address that. Comment 6 regarding the auto turn for the Smyrna ladder truck. They have provided an auto turn with the incorrect truck, so we'd like to provide it with the correct truck and to ensure that it does safely maneuver throughout the site. Comment number 7 has been addressed regarding the IFC requirements for building 3. Comment number 8, 5,250 square feet of commercial is allowed per the approved PUD. The proposed building showed 9,000 square foot of commercial space. We asked to either reduce the size of the building or request a PUD amendment to allow for a larger commercial building. Comment number 9 has been addressed. They have detailed the construction type for each of the buildings. Comment 10 is a informational comment that the buildings may be required to be sprinkled. Comment number 11 is also informational that the water can be accessed on the north side of Union Springs Road, and this would require a bore underneath Union Springs Road to access that. Comment number 12 is informational as well. The minimum required fire flow will be 2,500 gallons per minute at 20 psi, which may be reduced based upon construction type and whether or not the building is sprinkled. Comment 13 has been addressed with the distance away from the FDC for the fire hydrants. Comment 14 regarding the FDC having a minimum of 3-foot clearance on all sides is going to be more of an informational comment at this time. Comment 15 regarding number of suites within the commercial buildings, they are showing for 5 suites, so that comment can be removed. Comment 16, the landscaping on Union Springs Road to be required to comply with MTEMC overhead utility requirements, since they do have overhead utilities that run along Union Springs Road, so we do want to make sure that they're meeting those requirements. There is a loading unloading zone for the commercial building, south side of the commercial building. So in the event that a vehicle is there unloading or loading when the emergency response needs to get through the site, we do need to make sure that can be done safely. And currently, the auto turn is showing the emergency apparatus coming into that loading and unloading zone. So that comment will remain at this time. Comment 18 is regarding cross-section of the proposed paving, that will remain. Comment number 19 and 20 more or less go along with each other about additional landscaping to be added to the site. 21 is regarding the utility plans being under review for the utility department. Comment 47 was a discrepancy for the number of units that were actually shown on site that has been addressed. Comment number 23 to update the parking calculations that have been done so. Comment 24 regarding the handicap parking spaces, they were showing a deficiency. They are now showing the correct number. However, we do need them to show it spread throughout the site, so you don't have someone that is handicapped crossing a drive aisle to get to their intended building. We have an additional comment that the sewer cleanouts must be located within 10 foot of the sewer main within the utility easement. Since this is all public area, the plat recorded did dedicate utility easement, so we do need all those cleanouts to be located within inside that dedicated easement area. So as a result, staff would recommend denial of this due to the list of outstanding comments, concerns from the fire department, and the proposal of a larger commercial building than what is approved per the PUD. That is all I got.
Okay, questions for Mitchell?
Sounds pretty straightforward. So a lot of questions.
When was this one approved? 2004?
2004 was the rezoning to go to a PUD. Yes.
It was approved.
And it's carried on that almost 20 years.
It's almost 20 years. They developed the single-family portion, and now that's
Right.
basically finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This probably wouldn't meet current standards, would it? Some of the setbacks and driveways.
As far, well, they are showing the 4 parking spaces within the driveways for the townhomes. They are
Well,
showing
I
that.
saw that, but then when I looked at the sketch, it says 20-foot setbacks.
Well, I think that was part of the PUD, but they are showing 35 along Wildwood Drive. for
Is
the-
that right,
for the
35?
townhome.
35-foot setback?
Yes, so they've got 4 cars there, so that's not an issue, and they've got the parking, the guest parking will be within the rest of the parking.
It's just incorrect here.
Yeah, so, that part, I mean, they're meeting our parking requirements. The only issue from the overall, I mean, this was approved as 60 multifamily units. There was nothing within the PUD to designate whether they were townhomes or apartments or anything like that. And then, so certainly today, this PUD would be have a lot more detail to it
Right.
than what was approved,
Okay.
certainly. It was one of the first ones we really looked at. So certainly from that standpoint, yes, you would have a lot more detail. We do need, I think my understanding is the commercial building is a much further off future phase of this. I think the townhomes are first, and then the apartments, and then the commercial, maybe even waiting until the interchange comes in or something like that. So, so certainly in the future, they have time, based on their timing, they have time to.
And we don't have a
request it.
statute of limitations on that approval, do we?
No, it's the same as if it were free zone from R1 to R3. I mean,
Right, same thing.
it's a zoning approval, so the use is approved, other than that extra commercial space, is completely approved as far as, from a use standpoint. So that's-
It's more for public consumption. I don't know apartments get done
Sure.
today,
Yeah,
right? But this was
right,
done
exactly. I think you would be.
19 years ago. so-
Yeah, it would be, I think we would look at it again, and we would have more details,
Right.
now than on the PUD approval.
But
So-
even with it being approved as is, it's still gonna meet current
It
design.
still have to meet design review, and the building, the commercial building certainly, at least on the front and rear that we've seen, certainly does that.
Okay.
So we haven't seen the end buildings, and then the apartments, the height issues, I think we do need to clarify, that needs to be clarified from a fire department issue and that sort of thing. I mean, just from looking at the plans, you have 8 units like building 1 is 8 units on the floor, and there's 24 units, so that's a 3-story building, so you may be exceeding that height limitation, so, which would affect.
Just a question. I think I knew the answer. I just, for
Sure.
public consumption, I
Oh,
think it's
yeah,
good.
no, yeah, I don't know, I'm probably giving you more information than you asked for. but
No,
I'm
you're
just
not.
Just trying to,
Mitch is the one that gave us more information than we needed.
Enoch, would you like to
Sure.
speak? and then you'll
Enoch
start?
Gerald with Huddleston Steel Engineering, Mr. Scott Butler owns the property. Like I said, this was part of the Valley Green, this is Valley Green PUD 20 years ago. They developed 190 single-family homes. This was shown in this area with, the only thing that was submitted architecturally before was apartments, And it was approved with 5,250 square foot of commercial, 60 high-density residential with no layout, no nothing. I mean, you're right, it was just,
20 years ago.
it wouldn't happen like that today.
That's my point.
And we've looked at this property for different things, and what we were trying to do is sort of conform to what the PUD was approved. Now, there may be some more options, and that's one thing I'd like to maybe discuss today. We've got 60 high-density apartment, with apartments. we tried to lay out just townhomes. And you get about 45. If you go with the garages, 4 in a driveway. Now, if we go with internal, with our parking and have surface parking,
Just
Yeah.
surface parking.
just surface parking for townhomes, no garages, I can
Like
get
Lee
60.
Crossing has.
I can get 60.
Yeah.
And maybe that would be a better option than apartments.
Maybe
You know.
maybe a section of it, because your apartments are the same thing, right? I mean, there's no garages.
But they could be
for-
for sale.
Right, but there's no garages for apartments either. That's my point.
Correct,
Yeah,
right.
so it's
So,
kind of the same
but,
thing, yeah.
you know, if you were against the apartments, which, I mean,
Yes.
they're approved. But, you know, Scott's willing to take a look at this and try to conform to today's standards. I mean, the materials he submitted would, you know, the height of those buildings are 30 feet to the eave height. I don't know if they measure to the roof or the center of the roof or the eave height, I'm not sure how the fire department measures that, or the height of the building, but.
I think it's, I don't, honestly,
If it's eve height, we comply with that, but, you know, this layout, we have more commercial than shown. And, you know, the commercial in this area is down the road. I mean, it's really gonna happen. You know, and to get those 60, surface, you know, townhomes with surface parking, we could do it without the commercial, really. You know, or we could put it in the corner or something like that, but, you know, so what we will come up with, which makes the PUD would be the townhomes, the apartments, and some commercial. If we went with, just to get the 60 units, what was approved, we could do that with the 13 units we have along Wildwood that meet that 4 parking and do that, but then the others internal, the other 43 internal, I would do with surface parking, no garages. That's the way I could get
Like 2 spaces
the density.
per-
The 2 per, then I could put some perimeter parking, and we could have some amenities and have some, you know, we could make a nice
I don't know
area.
about you guys, it sounds a little better to me. But It's
but
all,
that-
it's all what was approved before, so.
Yeah, it's been approved, that's the challenge, it's been approved long before,
Yeah,
you know, I did
Any
that
of
one
us,
in Wildwood, or, what's it, Woodmont. I did Woodmont with one sheet of paper that was just colored years ago. You know, it was just different today than back then. And the reason we did the plat, it used to be 5 acres, but now it's 4.79 because the city's taken right of way. And we need, to develop this lot, you really gotta have at least 5 acres, right? So we've shown a plat to get that approved with easements. If we change the layout, we would have different easements on the plat. But Scott, you might wanna,
Well, I guess one of the things, I'm Scott Butler, Smyrna. I lived here most of my life. I guess one of the things he's asking is how much do you guys like the commercial? Can we do away with the commercial and do away with the apartments and maybe try to do some more townhomes?
Kevin, what's your input on commercial there?
I mean, I think long-term, commercial makes sense.
Yeah, it's gonna be
But
there
it's gonna be a little
eventually.
while.
I mean, that's the vision of that.
You know,
area.
certainly, I think long-term, it's gonna be a connection.
Is there an element of
Plan.
commercial in towns that you would do minus apartments?
We lose the density, I think, as far as, we've tried to look at it each different way. But
if we get that commercial, we lose, you know, 8 units or 8 units. And that's really what, Scott's more of a residential developer than a commercial developer. I don't know if you have any apartments, but, you know, that was what was approved originally.
Well, I can sell the townhomes, and you guys asked earlier, would you do the master downstairs? And I prefer the master downstairs
sell
because it
them.
does help for selling purposes.
If you have that, surface parking, you could have the master down and 2 up. You don't have the garage.
I think I would just defer you to talk to staff a little bit and bounce that off of them. You've got an approval for this already, and, you know, it's before us. But maybe get with Kevin and see if that's something that you might want to bring back to us and look at. from the perspective of eliminating apartments. I love that idea, to be honest with you, but
And we had a discussion when we submitted, this beats the PUD, but they ain't gonna like it.
right.
I mean, but.
You knew, didn't you?
We absolutely did. I mean, but this beats the PUD.
Yeah, it does.
But,
And you could have 60 townhomes without commercials still, I mean, the commercial's allowed within the PUD. You don't have to have the commercial. You could have
Right,
60
and
townhomes.
that's
and
why
no
I'm asking them
commercial,
maybe to get
And still
with
meet the
you.
PUD and still just
I
have to come
can't do
back
the
with.
60 townhomes with the 4 cars in the garages. I'd have to have some surface. I could leave the 13, but I gotta have some surface parking to do that. And this can be for sale, it's a PUD.
Then it
so we
becomes, and I get it, but then it starts looking like the apartments, right?
Well, I don't
It's
know.
same- it's kind of
It's
the
not
same
3
look.
stories, it's not,
Yeah,
you
no
know,
garages,
you know.
parking in the parking
But,
lot.
but it's surface parking. You have a lot of those around town like that.
Take what we got, massage it if you want, give it that guy right there.
And what we're gonna come back with is, you know.
Then
the
we could
surface
have more
parking.
discussion. We don't have anything in front of us to look at,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna come back with, and we had a discussion a long time ago, they ain't gonna like the apartments. But
Well,
that's the reason.
you know what, you guessed right.
But,
Times have changed.
Yeah.
but we'll be glad to withdraw and come back and come up with, but.
That's on you. We're not gonna tell you to do that, but if you want to ask to be withdrawn,
Well, that, we hear
Are
your,
you asking for a deferral?
I think so.
yeah, we'd like to defer, and.
you
and we'll-
have
and-
this already blessed, to be blessed. It's already been approved. So,
We'll come back with 60.
take that, and let us look at
60
it.
townhomes is what we're gonna come back at, they're gonna have some surface parking.
Try to keep some garages and driveways in there
We'll,
too.
we'll see what we can do.
Especially
And maybe we may
visibility
have some one-car
wise.
garages.
It's
with
interior,
just-
I get it, but outside,
Yeah. We
Yeah.
might have some one-car garages, but we're not gonna have 4 cars in every driveway. We're gonna have some parking around the perimeter, but there's just no.
we'll look at it. We'll look at it.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you,
So
guys.
just one other quick comment. So there's a very long list of staff comments. And so my request is just, you know, as you come back in, some of these are comments, but there are a lot of them that are requests for some sort of change. You know, a lot of missing information and whatnot. Can we just try to get that cleaned up some?
17 of those were corrected with our resubmittal,
Okay.
and it just, some of the staff was not there second.
Okay.
Second. So
Understood.
that's a lot of that. I made it to Kevin the other day and told him, they're gonna fuss about 30 comments. Tell him, Kevin,
What I'm hearing is you think we fuss a lot.
Well, 30, you know, in Murfreesboro, I'll have 100 comments and they don't think nothing of it. I mean, that's just the way different areas.
We're on our game here.
But, you are more than them, I'll give you that, but, a
right,
lot
we'll
of
go-
have been addressed.
we're gonna move on.
But, okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we've
We have
asked.
a request to be
the
deferred, so we'll
first-
need a
so
motion.
I will
He
need
requested
a-
the deferral.
Yeah.
Yeah, do I need a motion?
Yes,
That's
yes.
what I'm thinking. So we've heard a request to defer, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to defer for 30 days.
I have a motion to defer for 30 days. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Further discussion.
Technicality, some months have 31 days.
For what?
For 1 month, till next meeting.
Thank you.
Till December
Technicality.
meeting.
Till next meeting.
Yes.
Right.
Next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Tim wanted us to clean it up, so I thought I just cleaned it up.
That did it. Any further discussion, and I'm afraid to ask. All right, all in favor of this motion to defer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This deferral motion is approved. I think we need to up our game if Murfreesboro's doing 100 comments and we're only the 30 range.
They don't ever change it, same ones every time.
Yeah, there you go, I like it. Okay, our next item is Elsie Jones, Lot 6A, 310 Q Creek Circle, owner developer Venture Properties LLC.
Yeah, Camco Construction and Renovation is proposing a second building for the business across Key Creek Circle from their first building. This building is supposed to be 2 stories tall and serve a similar purpose for their first building, which is office and warehouse space. The building is to be 6,292 square feet in size with 2 access points on the Q Creek Circle. Vehicular use area for the site, 13,861 square feet, which does require 1,386 square feet of landscaping. Applicant's showing for 1,500 square feet. Total park requirement of 21 spaces, they're showing for 22, and they are required to have 1 handicap space, they're showing for 2. The landscape plan shows street trees and a variety of shrubbery along Q Creek Circle with additional maple trees planted around the perimeter of the property. At the base of the front of the building is shown to have a variety of shrubbery. Architectural elevations for all 4 elevations consist of primary material of brick, stone, and glass glazing. The building is to be 2 stories with 3 metal rolled doors in the rear of the building. As presented, these elevations do meet design review. Standard comments 1 through 5 all to remain, and we had a couple staff comments. Comment 1 regarding the minimum fire flow being 2,250 gallons per minute at 20 psi. We asked them to show the sizes of the existing water and sewer mains as well as the size of the water and sewer service lines. They have shown the water and sewer mains, and they did indicate that the service lines are currently still in design process, so we don't have the exact size on those yet. We did also ask them to show the existing gas main. There's a gas main that is in Q Creek Circle, so we do ask them to show that as part of that request. Comment number 3 is regarding the spacing around the sewer clean out at the right of way of Q Creek Circle, and they have done so accordingly. So that comment can be removed. And with that, staff recommend approval.
Mitchell, thinking of the area and the, what's developed in there, this is very much consistent with what we've seen for this.
Yes, it lends itself to this type of use and these type of businesses.
Other questions, comments?
Move to approve the staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This site plan is approved. Our last item under site plans is McDonald's, 352 Needham Drive. Owner, developer, Vester Waldron Family LTD Partnership.
This is another McDonald's location here in Smyrna, located on Sam Ridley Parkway with frontage on Needham Drive. Building is to be just above 4,000 square feet in size and would share an access drive with Dutch Brothers Coffee to the east, and access would be required to be maintained as part of this development. That Dutch Brothers development does kind of have a horseshoe-shaped driveway, and this development is in front of it, so as part of it would be required to remain open. Proposed queuing is to have 2 lanes and can accommodate approximately 14 vehicles. If additional queuing were to occur, traffic would back up onto the private drive constructed to Dutch Brothers entrance. The entrance to the property is located at the furthest point on the tract away from Needham Drive, and a single entrance and a single exit would serve this site. The use area for the site, 0.52 of an acre, and that does require 2,297 square feet of landscaping. They are showing for 2,361 square feet. Parking requirement of 41 spaces, and they're showing for 41. That does require 2 handicap spaces, and they're showing for 2 as well. The landscape plan shows a mixture of maple and oak trees within landscape islands on the property. Shrubbery is shown accompanying the trees. Streetscaping along Needham Drive is not shown. Since these comments went out last week, we did receive updated plans. So they are showing a little bit of vegetation along Needham Drive, not quite what we require as part of the design review at this time. So it does not meet design review at this time based on what currently is presented to you tonight. Architectural elevations for the front elevation facing Sam Ridley Parkway is to have 77.5% primary materials of brick glass glazing, with the remaining 20.3% composed of aluminum battens. So it's more or less treated as an accent material for what they have. The remaining 3 elevations are to have no less than 88.6% primary material. In total, that leaves 9.9% of the building to have accent materials. Design review does permit a maximum of 10% accent materials for the entire building. So as presented, they are still meeting design review even with that 9.9% for the total building being of the aluminum batten accents. For standard comments, 1 through 5 would all remain. And staff comment, roll through this list. Staff comment 1 was regarding the minimum fire flow at 1,500 gallons per minute, 20 psi, informational comment. Comment 2, to provide a construction entrance, dimensions, details, and rock sizes. And comment 3 is a silt fence show the silt fence location, so 2 and 3 are public works comments that can be addressed when it gets to the grading permit stage. Comment 4 is regarding the potable water tap shown at a reclaimed water line location, so they have addressed that, can be removed. Comment number 5 is regarding the service line size, and that has been addressed. Comment number 6, showing the existing water main size and its service and its size on Needham Drive. They have shown it in partly correct. One of the lines they showed was 12-inch, it's actually an 8-inch, so partly got it there, partly didn't, so that comment will remain. Comment number 7 to show the existing sewer main line size, and they have done so, that can be removed. Comment number 8 to provide an accessible entrance from the sidewalk to the front of the building, and this is required to meet ADA requirements. You do have to have a handicap access ability to get from the sidewalk on Needham Drive to the front of the building, which they are not showing today. They indicated it was due to some sort of topographical issues of sorts, but to meet ADA requirements, you have to do it, so we will make that comment be addressed at some point in the future. Comment number 9 is regarding the details for utilities, and that has been addressed. Comment number 10, we had a discussion regarding the HVAC units. They're going to be rooftop mounted, so we want to make sure they will be screened from view, whether you're on Needham or Sam Ridley. They have increased parapet on the front and the sides of the building, so they've also done a site distance study to show if you're driving on Sam Ridley or if you're on Needham, you won't be able to see those rooftop mounted units, so staff is satisfied with what they have done at this time and can be removed for that comment. Comment number 11 is regarding the FEMA maps, and those have been updated and can be removed. Number 12 is regarding the number of parking and the number in the site data table that has been addressed, can be removed. Comment number 13 is the streetscaping. We asked them to add street trees and shrubs between the parking lot and Needham Drive to meet the design review manual. So applicant has designed the sites, so we will make them meet the design review requirements for streetscaping along Needham Drive. Comment number 14 is that all landscaping must be compliant with the design review manual, so that goes back with the previous comment. Comment number 15, the proposed dumpster enclosure and storage building do not meet the required setback requirements from Needham Drive. It needs to be relocated on the site, so they have a storage building attached to the dumpster enclosure. As part of that, that needs to meet setback requirements due to being a covered structure, so that needs to be relocated to meet proper setback requirements. Comment number 16 is regarding the fire hydrant location. They have done that and can be removed. Comment number 17, we asked them to show and label the minimum building setback lines. They have shown those building setback lines, but have not labeled them, so we need them to label those. Comment number 18 was an additional comment we had after received revised plans. We asked them to show the existing gas main and size in the correct location. Per data that we have, we do show that those utilities are located within the right of way. They're shown it kind of drifting onto the property line, onto their property. They are shown within the right of way, so we do ask that they show that in the correct location and with the appropriate size. So with that, a good chunk of those comments have been addressed and can be removed. There are a couple that we do have issues with, so as a result, staff would recommend denial of the project due to the list of comments remaining that some are in turn paramount to the design of the site. So in regards to shifting the site over to accommodate for additional streetscaping along Needham Drive, adjusting however it need be for that accessibility to get from Needham to the front of the building, as well as the potential relocation for that dumpster enclosure as well. So staff felt as a result of that, there may be too many potential issues to recommend approval of it due to shifting of the site in some which way, shape, or form. We do believe it can be done at some point. We just don't feel comfortable recommending approval as it stands today. The applicant is here if you'd like to speak to them and have any questions for them as well.
But it sounds like all of these items that are outstanding are fixable items,
Absolutely. Yes.
right? It's just a function of getting it right before submittal for approval.
Correct. And due to those, we just don't feel comfortable recommending approval, but can they be fixed? Absolutely.
Does the developer wish to address? If you give us your name and address, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Planning Commission members. My name is Seth Dorman. I'm with Permit Solutions. I'm working with McDonald's on this project. My address is 100 North Avenue, Talmadge, Ohio, 44278. I'm joined tonight by Matt Allen. He is with AEI Inc. They are our project engineer for this project, and I know that he would like to address some of the comments and would like to discuss some of the staff comments, maybe discuss some of the limitations of the lot due to the topography that exists out there. If we may, maybe ask a couple questions of staff. But at the end of the discussion, we would respectfully request a 1-month deferral for this application. And with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Allen to come up.
Sure, and it sounds like we need to move towards some clarifications or some direction. I take it that's what you guys are looking for, is that?
Yes.
Okay. Please,
And-
your name and address, please.
Matthew Allen, American Engineers, 65 Aberdeen Drive, Glasgow, Kentucky, 42141. The two biggest questions that I have are relative to the street landscaping along Needham. Due to the required parking for the site, we pretty much maximize the site as much as possible to meet that requirement, which forced us to, due to the size of the stalls, the width of the drive aisles, it forced that the parking along Needham Drive pretty much right on the property line. And due to the topography difference of maintaining that access drive along the front to be utilized during construction for Dutch Brothers to be in operation, obviously we couldn't make any changes to that. So along that parking along Needham Drive, we're forced to put in a retaining wall. So our green space in that area is very limited due to some of the site restrictions that I just mentioned. We are able to put in some landscaping, which I think what he mentioned earlier. Question I would have is, would the board be more inclined to approve a parking variance or a landscape variance? We do have we have a lot of property in the front that we could put parking on there. It's a private road. It's more or less an access drive, but they would be backing out into that. Another issue with moving some of the parking up front right there is there's a very, very large regional retention pond up there. So there may be some modifications to that as well. But if we can make it work to where we shift those parkings to the front and eliminate all the parking along Needham and maybe put 5 or 6 parallel parking spaces, we could accommodate the landscaping streetscape, but the parking count may not get to the 41. And also the dumpster enclosure, if we remove the storage, the actual enclosed storage shed, does that eliminate the need for the setbacks?
Yeah, yes, yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna propose that to McDonald's, but I think looking at this a little bit more in depth, I think what we're initially gonna propose is to shift that dumpster enclosure from where it's currently sitting to the northeast corner, get away from that intersection, not
And
quite
then-
as visible
and then move the
from
parking over.
Needham Drive. That's typically the side that they like to have it on because that's where the back door of their kitchen is. So ease of access, that's typically where they like to show it. So those are a couple questions I have, just. We can discuss them
Yeah.
further in detail with,
Yeah, and-
with Kevin and his,
Yeah, and I think that's, something that you guys have, will rule on a deferral. You ask a question, do we want one or either as far as a parking variance or landscaping variance? And I think the question is, we want both to what's, what we require. I'm confident.
And I can speak too that this board has no authority to grant a parking variance.
Right.
That's the Board of Zoning Appeals only could
Exactly.
act on that, so.
well, obviously, we're gonna try to meet the requirements as much as possible.
And that's my direction. That'd be a good thing.
Yeah. Are there any limitations to having that parking along that front access road?
I mean, there's no limitations to it. I think we would want to be careful about it, how it's designed and everything, because if you have someone backing out as somebody else is coming in to go to Dutch Brothers or even into the McDonald's, you can certainly create some issues, even though it's a private road. Still, it's going to be used like a public road. So,
We would definitely look at the throat distance from Needham Drive to the first parking stall
we would
and
have
and
to
have it
look
at
at
least
that.
one width of a car, just as good
Okay.
practice.
yeah, we'd have to look at that and more look at kind of some traffic flow and that sort of thing, certainly through there. But we can
And-
certainly do that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stop here and just say, it sounds like we're trying to hash it out here. And I don't think that we've got everything in front of us, and our preference would be to work with staff on this. And, we hear your concerns, and staff's heard your concerns tonight. And certainly take that in consideration. My understanding is you're asking for a deferral, correct?
Yeah, and I wasn't asking for
No,
any
no, no, no,
approval
I
or anything.
understand.
I was just,
Sounding board. Yeah.
yeah.
No, and we do that, we do that. So, and I think the main thing is, we like our requirements met, and we've got a great staff here to work with, and, I can't tell you how many times somebody's come up to me, when are we gonna get a McDonald's on Sam Ridley? Yeah. I mean, this would actually probably save about 20 hours of my life every year. And would make a lot of my grandkids happy to know that there was a McDonald's on Sam Ridley. And certainly, we would welcome you to the Sam Ridley corridor. We just want to get it right, that's all. We want to get it right. So, we've got a motion, or a request for a motion to defer.
Yeah.
And so, if any.
We haven't had a motion
Wait,
yet.
Or I'll make the motion to-
Okay, you got the motion.
for till next meeting.
And I think
To
Tim,
defer
Tim, yeah.
I'll second it.
And Tim seconded it. So I got a motion and a second to defer to
And
the
just
next meeting.
Before we vote, just a quick comment to the gentleman. I'm not in your world. I'm not an engineer from, like you are. But I think this is very figure-outable, I mean, I think you can make this work. Just work with the team. And I believe it's very doable. I'm very confident in it.
Okay. Motion is, any further discussion? All those in favor of this deferral signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion's deferred. Okay. I think we are now onto the November bond review report.
Yeah, and I'll go through this, try to go this as quickly as I can. I've been here a long time tonight. Oak Meadows, Section 1 is the first one. That's one we've only had for 1 year. They are about 78% built out. They did request a 1-year extension. We're okay with that at this time. Rookers Bend, Section 1, Phase 1, this is one, this is 100% built out. Developer did not return my email or contact to him. I do know that our inspectors are trying to work with him on those issues, and I know he's getting ready to do another phase there near, he hasn't recorded it yet, so I think we can work with him on getting this one done before we start on the next one. This would be our goal. But would recommend a 3-month extension on that one, just 3 months. Burton Farm 6, this one is about 85% built out. I did talk to the developer on that. They are hoping to pave before the asphalt plant shut down for winter, but they did ask for one more extension just in case they're not able to do that. So we would recommend an extension of 6 months. If they're able to pave before that expiration date, which is the 22nd of November, we could reduce it and extend it 1 year as a maintenance bond, so that gives them a couple options there on that. Wood Point, Section 1 and Section 2, those are both 100% built out. They have finally finished up everything, other than some minor cleanup issues. So we would recommend that both of those be reduced. In Section 1, we reduce it to 12, Section 2, reduce it to 10, and extend them both 1 year as their maintenance bonds. Stone Trace, this is the commercial portion of this, which is, we were just talking about one of the lots just now. I did, in the intervening time, I did not hear from the developer prior to the packets, but I did hear from him this week. They did ask for an extension till they can get some more of these lots built out, as we have had a couple built out, but there's some more to be done. They're about 63% built on those commercial lots. We did recommend a 6-month extension there. Gwen Farms, these are some just their off-site improvements. We can reduce that. They have finished it. There's a couple of things to clean up, but we can reduce that to their 25% minimum there, the 56.7. Extend it 1 year as their maintenance bond. Buckingham Place, this Section 1, this is on maintenance already. The developer there is trying to get everything cleaned up. And so if he's able to do that, if this is the end of the maintenance period, if he can get those final items cleaned up, we could release it. Otherwise, give him an extension, a 6 more month extension, because he is actively trying to get things finished out there now. So I'd like to let him do that. Woodmont, Section 6B, there's just one little section of sidewalk to be completed there. They are looking at having that done within the next 4 to 5 months, so we recommend a 6-month extension on that one. Cedar Park, this is there's 3 out of the 8 lots are built. They are, one of those has had a site plan, another one has had a site plan approved, and they've got another one that they've got ready to sell. They hopefully are closing soon on. They would like to wait to pave till they get a couple more of the lots actually built on. I think we're okay with that, because this is commercial construction here. We will be okay with another 6-month extension on that one until we get that maybe get another lot built. Well, one of those is getting ready to fill soon, I think, for the school, primary school. And then Woodcrest 5, the same developer as the Buckingham issue. They are hoping to get everything finished on the maintenance bond by the end of the year. This one expires December 14th, so they got a little over a month. If they're able to get that done, we could reduce that and extend it as the maintenance bond, but otherwise just extend it 6 months at that same amount if they're not able to get that done. So now is the bond report.
Any questions for Kevin concerning the bond review report? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the bond review.
I have a motion to approve the bond review. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving the bond review report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The bond review report for November is approved. Staff comments.
The only thing, I did send everyone an email earlier this week. There is some online Zoom training for Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals members. It is free, so certainly it is being put on by the Middle Tennessee section of the state APA chapter. And so that is geared very much towards Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals members. So it's, as I said in my email, I'm personally acquainted with at least 2 of them. There's 4 different speakers. 2 of them I know very well, and they're very good and very knowledgeable. So that's certainly there for you, and invite you to tie on to that. If you can't do it at that particular date and time, the goal is to record that, and it would be able to stream from the TAPL website as well. So
Is there a written test at the end?
there is no test.
I was hoping I could get your answers as there were. Anything else from the commission?
Just to say, excellent meeting, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's to everybody here. All right, then we stand adjourned.